Well, hello, everybody. It is our SaaS Founder Show. Today, we are having another fascinating conversation with a SaaS founder. Today, out of Poland, we've got Jakub from DevSkiller. And DevSkiller is a platform that helps assess and grow tech talent. So I'm really excited to have Jakub on. I'm going to bring him on now. Hey, Jakub, how are you doing today?
Hello. Pretty good, and you?
I'm doing very well. I'm excited to chat. I looked at everything through your site and about you, and really interested about this, especially because I actually started out 20 years ago as a developer. So I'm a little bit of a code junkie myself, and so it was really interesting. If you don't mind starting out and just giving everybody the high level from your perspective about what DevSkiller is.
Yeah, so funny that we started like 20 years ago because I've started like my professional software career 18 years ago. So in 2004, and I started coding in like 80s. So it was like late 80s. I don't look like this, but I'm also a code junkie, and I started with Fortran 77,
Oh,
which is
wow.
probably pretty strange. Yeah, writing some simple programs to do my math homeworks in a primary school or even before. Regarding DevSkiller, DevSkiller, the first thing that's important is that it's a tool that was created by developers, from developers, and for developers. So basically, when founding DevSkiller, I was resolving my own problem. So I was hired at Allegro, which is like a pretty big, a few $1 billion e-commerce company, and I was setting up their new development office in a new city, and we were just basically flooded by the candidates, and we were not able to manage this high scale of recruitment. So it was really a pain in the neck. I was sitting from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on the interviews, having even 50 interviews per week. And I was so tired after 3 weeks that I decided that it needs to be resolved in a better way than it was currently. And that's how DevSkiller was founded. So I was resolving my own problem without the standard way, sitting on the beer and thinking, hey, maybe we'll find a startup. I was just trying to do everything to save my life. With resolving the real problem that I faced, so that's where we are. And right now, of course, these are few years already when we are on the market. So our product has changed. We are doing right now much more. Because we've started with just a skills assessment. Right now, it's more like a skills assessment and development and management, which is more like jumping from sophisticated version of Google Forms to be kind of a CRM for skills, that allows you to incorporate that in all of the processes that are used by the companies on a daily basis.
Wow, it's interesting. And I'll admit I've had the same problem. Even being a developer and interviewing other developers, it's hard to evaluate skill. So the pain that you felt and the solution that you're solving, I've felt myself very strongly.
Additional problem is that after you start the interview, and often it happens that after 5 minutes you know that this person is not the person you want to hire, and still you need to sit this at least the next 50 minutes just to not kick away someone after 5 or 10 minutes because it's hurting your employer branding. So that was the worst part for me, when after a few minutes I knew that it's not this person, but you needed to you play this recruitment game and give this person other questions and try to get something out of these interviews, even if you will know that this person will be rejected. That's definitely a problem that we are trying to solve.
I'd love to go back to the beginning because I always like the origin story. And you said you had a pain, you were at an existing company, but what did it really look like? Did you create a product while you were working somewhere and then just found a couple customers, or did you jump off and say, this is great, we're gonna, go after it full time? What did it really look like when you tried to start?
Yeah, so here I believe that our story were pretty unique, but I believe that it has some advantages that are worth to mention. So the first thing is that we started, of course, to build the product after hours, like during the weekends, etc. But very soon we realized that it's not going to work because you are tired after work, and of course, like working on your own product is like more like engaging, but still you cannot like spend as many hours as it needs at the very beginning. Especially that DevSkiller had some I don't want to say issues, but there were some hard stuff to do. Like what we do basically, we are like doing what all of the hackers are trying to do when they're like pen testing the company. So we allow candidates to run and execute their own code in our environment. So every single like hacker tries to inject the code and run the code into the environment of the like target, right? So ensuring that the security is on a high level and it's not going to hurt us, and ensuring that the security comes not as a trade-off of performance and as a user experience. That took us like many months of sitting and thinking how to isolate this stuff and the candidate execution code, how not to like run into the problem when one candidate is utilizing the resources that are assigned to other candidates as well. So it took us a lot of time, and we realized that we need to spend more time based on that. So basically, very quickly, we decided to leave the regular job and start a small boutique software house because when we were founding DevSkiller, we already had like 8 or 10 years of professional experience, so we were able to pretty easily get some customers for our services, get better money that you can get on the permanent job, and be able to get some time to spend on the product, and also like using the savings from this like better software house salaries. So we're able to also invest some money at the early stage, even for external services. And we've been like developing the product for 3 years, 2-3 years on this stage when we're like offering the consulting services, doing the product, and these were the two things that we were doing concurrently. And I believe it was pretty good idea. And right now I can say that better than getting some early seed money or pre-seed money when you give a lot of company for almost like no value. So if you are able to build this value yourself, then it's of course better to be your own first investor than get just a few $100,000 and give like 20% of the company, because that's the 20% you will lack at the later stages. So that's where we did, and after finishing the product in a way that it was like let's say working better, we started to acquire the customers.
Yeah, a lot to unpack there. I'm a fan also of waiting until you've got revenue to raise money, just because then you have more of a position to take with folks, and if you need the money to scale, you can take it at that point.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So the one thing that you keep saying is we and us. So I assume did you start with one co-founder, multiple? What was that?
So yeah, I founded the company with a friend of mine who I'm like know for like 12 years or something like this, and we work together for 12 years and we still sit in the same room. So my co-founder Marek is also a software engineer. He is like something I call the one-man army. So the guy who can do like back-end infrastructure, front-end like design, and everything works as a charm. Then so that's how we started. Then we very quickly realized that it's not a job for two people. So we get another co-founder, another developer, and that's where how we started. Then very quickly we were sent basically or decided to go to acceleration program in Silicon Valley when they basically shown us that building the software is not the same as building the product, and building the product is still not the same as building the company. So when we get back to other co-founders join us responsible for sales and marketing, and in a team of 5 people, we just bootstrapped the company.
Okay, wow. So 5 co-founders. That's probably the highest number that I've heard so far.
There are 2 founders and 3 co-founders. So still there is like a majority of the stake is held by me and Marek. But without these 3 co-founders, we won't be able to be in the place where we are today.
Yeah, I'd love for you to. I mean, I think everybody gets it, but especially for our audience, that difference between, building a, growing a product, growing, a company, etc. What you said there, I thought was really insightful. Can you talk about like why those things are so different?
Yeah, so the first thing something that is obvious for all developers, it basically when you deploy the code to production is done. Like, yeah, I did my job, it's there, so like deal with it. And when you are building the product, there is much more than you need to do. Like there is stuff like documentation, like the user experience, even support that you need to build for the users. Also, you need to ensure that the features you've built are used by the customers. The customers knows how to use them. And these are, in fact, the features that they require or they need, right? Because you can build the features that are cool and crazy, but if no one needs that and if the user needs are in a different place, then you've built the software, but it's not the product. There is no product market fit. That is like a requirement for all of the SaaS companies. So this is the major difference between the software and the product. And the difference between the product and the company is that the company needs, of course, to inject or introduce the branding. So you need to have a website which describes what you are doing. It needs to sell the product. It needs to sell the whole value proposition needs to be understood by the people who are going through this website. And that's something that we lacked at the very beginning. That's why we decided to land 2 more co-founders, Tom and Kate, who were responsible for sales and marketing at the beginning, and they did this hard stuff of building the brand, building the website, ensuring that there is some like inbound marketing, landing that there are people who know about our product, not just the people who we call and they, hey, we have a product, but they also come to us. And that was the biggest difference and the biggest surprise for me as a developer, that there is the life cycle of the software is not finishing on deployment to production.
I really do love that, and these 3 pillars, the software, product, company, because I do think a lot of technical founders, which we've talked to a lot of technical founders, that is that epiphany that they eventually have to have, is that there is a difference for product and then company. And I think the ones that really struggle are those that never get beyond like, oh, I'm deploying something and I love creating code.
Yeah, especially that, when you are growing, these things are changing. So of course, like building the company when you are like 5 people or 4 people is totally different thing than building the company when you are 40 people. Right now at DevSkiller, we are around like 40 permanent employees and around like 40 or 50 people who are cooperating with us. And being able to keep the culture, keep the processes internally it's another stuff that requires different skills at the very beginning. And that's something that's also worth to mention, that if you're a startup founder or a scale-up founder, because I see DevSkiller more like a scale-up right now than a startup, because we are not anymore as flexible as you can be if you're like a three people company. So then you need to understand that you need to learn every day new things, just to be able to deal with this like changing scale and the new problems, or you need to like hire people who been there and did that, right? So that's something that the startup founders need to understand, that the requirements the company have from them are changing. So they need to adapt, or they need to hire people who are able to do this new thing that is required, like managing the company of 50 people, like managing the budgets of few $1 million, etc. Because it's totally different than like using the family or friends' money to bootstrap the company.
And that's been a common thread as we've interviewed a lot of different founders, is that idea of adaptation and constant education. Because you're right, I've had a business for 20 years, and you're constantly trying to learn new things and having to solve new problems that come up. How for you, was that a big shift from being that developer to being this, founder, adaptable mindset, or was it an easy shift for you?
So I'm basically a learner, so I like to learn. But the hardest stuff for me, being a software developer and like software developer by heart, was like to stop coding, right? So that's what we need to do when you realize that, okay, I can still write features, but that's probably not the smartest way to do as a CEO of a growing company. So yeah, for me, the hardest thing was to uninstall the IDE and do not think about that. For me, the funny situation is that I'm basically a Linux person from like early 90s, and I decided to buy a Mac because I was not able to code on Mac, as all of the keyboard shortcuts were different, and I was like forced by changing the operating system to stop coding because I was so frustrated that I cannot do the stuff quick enough that I've stopped coding. So that was a mindset change for me. I've changed the Linux to macOS, and now I changed the paradigm of me being in a company. I needed to start reading another books, listening to different podcasts, talking to different people. Like microservice architecture or infrastructure as code shouldn't be my priority. I have people for that, and I should focus on finding the patterns of growing a company. And what's also important is that you need to answer yourself if it's something you want to do. Because, for example, the two founders that were responsible at DevSkiller for sales and marketing, at one time they said they working in a bigger and bigger company is not what they like, and that's not their comfort zone. They prefer to be on the edge and grow, think about how to do something that your competitors are doing with 50 people, how to do it with 2 people. So that's what they did, and they decided that that's their path they want to follow. And I believe that it was very mature decision. Like they said, okay, let's go that way, because we know that that's the stage of the company where we can bring the biggest value, and we don't want to bend ourselves just to learn be a manager instead of a growth hacker, because that's not our sweet spot, and that's not our comfort zone. So I believe that you need to be able to answer this question when you're a founder, if you want to be a founder of a big company, or maybe there is someone who will do it better. And when I should quit from being a CEO and hire a professional CEO that is able to do what I'm able to do better, because maybe my sweet spot is on the other size or other stage of the company than the stage we are arriving right now.
That's where I do see a lot of companies struggle, is from that startup to scale up, that someone is not able to, or the leadership team can't adapt to these changes. And like you said, I love that you got a whole different platform, because you need to force yourself to get out of that IDE, and it's hard, right? But that's totally where I see a lot of startups struggle. is just getting out of that mentality that I'm the builder, I'm the maker, to I'm the leader.
Yeah, and also, everyone is saying you should hire people that are smarter than you, but it's like it's even pretty easy to hire these people, but then you need to learn that you need to shut up and let them do their job, because they know how to do that. And what I often see, and that was my problem at the very beginning of my leadership path, that I just need to do their job, because I've hired them and I believe they are smarter than me, so I just should watch and do not tell them what they need to do, because they know what to do. They've been at this stage, they did it, and they just need to copy paste the solution that worked for them previously and adapt it to your culture, your strategy, etc. But I often see when people are saying, okay, they are not doing it as good as I was doing for the last month. Yeah, but they need to learn, they need to adapt, and finally you need to let them grow. And for example, right now the COO of the DevSkiller company is Stacy. She was hired by us as a customer success specialist. Then she started to grow, and right now she's much better in keeping this company up and running than me, because she grown, and we just let her to do her job. And I believe that it's hard to just sit in the backstage and see how it goes, but when you are able to do that, then you know that you are not the bottleneck of the company, because something that I'm pretty sure that you also seen a lot of time is that when the founders became a bottleneck of the company, so they need to decide everything, like, can we buy this software? I don't know, I need to think. Can we change this website? I don't know, let me think. And everyone is waiting for you, so the company is not doing their best, they're just waiting for your approval, which makes no sense. And it's hard to say, okay, decide on your own. I don't want to be a blocker. So that was hard for me as well, when I knew that the companies of course I was hiring these people, so I was ensuring that the values they have, they share the values with me, but it's still hard to give other the responsibility and the ownership of the stuff they are doing, right?
Yeah. What was it? Was there anything that you can think of, or a moment or something that helped you not have to have control, to let go a little bit?
Yeah, so we had at some stage some communication issues at the companies when we were I don't want to say fighting, but there were a lot of small conflicts in the company. And we as a board decided to get a feedback from employees, what they like about us and what they dislike. So what they get from us, what they need, what they get and they don't need. So just to find that. And then we realized that the way how we see ourselves in the company is not aligned with the feedback that we get from the people, when they shown us that we are a bottlenecks, and many times we don't treat them equally. So we are saying, okay, so that's what you can do, and that's how we should behave in the company. But I am the founder, so I can do it on my way. And they said it's not fair. And then we started to change that. And it's extremely hard to change it when you know that you need to let them fail, because no one is perfect from the first day. So you know that they will fail. And they will fail. You see that they are going in the wrong direction, but you need to shut up, listen, and see. I knew that you will fail, but okay, let's do it one more time. So that was the hardest thing.
The best way to learn is from making mistakes, right?
Yeah, but it's easy to say that, but when you see that someone is making a mistake and you say, okay, I don't want to lose this customer, so let me hijack this process and I will fix it. And then you end up with the situation when you need to fix everything, because people are not knowing they are doing the mistakes, because you're preventing them from doing these mistakes. So that was the very hard thing. But I believe that the idea from that is that ask your people for the feedback, and ask them what they like. in you, what they dislike in your approach, in your behavior, in your jobs to be done, etc. Because that would be like I'm pretty sure for many people that would be a surprise how others are seeing their position in the company, and where others see our values and others see our advantages, and also like some issues, right?
Yeah, and I'll admit, I've had my business for a long time, that I've had, ups and downs of letting go control. And I think that's the other thing that sometimes people don't realize is, you get to this point where you're comfortable letting people do anything, but then, your own mentality can start like just impacting you, and you go back to your old ways. And so you have to constantly push yourself to kind of know where you need to be, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you need to understand that, like, they don't have to be perfect, right? When you're a software engineer and you are letting other software engineers do the code, like, okay, if you are a very good software engineer, then they don't have to be like 100% like your quality. If it's 80% and it's still like, it's good enough, right? And I believe the good enough is a key to success, that not everything needs to be perfect, and it shouldn't be perfect.
Yeah.
Because it should be good enough. It should be sellable and working for customers.
Done is better than perfect is the quote.
Exactly. And I believe, yeah, that should be like, in every like entrance to any single startup, there should be done is better than perfect.
There's some of those great posters and sayings out there for startups. They're a little cliche now, but nonetheless, they're right. I'd be interested to shift gears a little bit and talk about, for other founders, one of the places they struggle with is we create software. Let's say we learn a little bit about turning it into a product, but how do they find those first customers? So for you guys, how did you get customer number one, and how did you go from 1 to 10?
So I can say how we did it, and why it wasn't the smartest idea. Because at the very, very early stage, we decided that we want to be a global company, and we want to start globally from day one, right? So our first customer was a customer acquired by inbound marketing from US, and we are based in Europe. And the next companies were also like this. And of course, it's pretty good because very early, I believe that when we've been on the monthly recurring revenue around $15,000, we already have customers in like 30 or 40 different countries. And of course, like, it's great because you have customers all over the world, but still I believe that you should focus on particular markets, know this market, do not deal with like the culture differences, time zone differences, etc., and start with that. What I realized at the very, very early stage, that we all believed that it's pretty easy to sell to your friends or the people that you know, your previous coworkers, etc., and it wasn't working for us at all. So they were very nice, but they don't want to like make decisions based on like your relationship, etc. So it was easier to go like to just to the market and acquire customers like out of the street. I believe that basically at the very early stage, building the inbound marketing is something that is pretty useful, because at the very early stage you don't know the market, you don't understand the market, so it's hard to like know everything. And by using the inbound marketing, you basically describe your version of the world and your version of the problem, and there are some people who will like say, yeah, that's exactly how I see that, and they will come and become your customers. And that's something that should be in my opinion pretty easy to acquire the first like 10 customers or something like this. But what you should do next is to talk to these customers, ask about their problems, ask about why they chosen you, why they are working with you, why they prefer you over your competitors, etc. And then based on this story, build find the patterns, and basically finding the patterns at the customers at very early stage. It's something that you should be able like to grow quickly. That's what we lacked at the beginning. So we were basically treating all customers equally, And we should be able to find, like, for example, okay, so we see that it's much easier for us to sell to software houses, so let's focus on the software houses. And we were like too long experimenting on like choosing these different customers and focusing on all markets and all types of customers, all sizes of customers, and that was a big mistake, I believe, right now. So yeah, you should be able to start, like, with spreading the word and just looking at these first 10 customers who are the easiest to acquire, and then look, like, find a pattern and like just utilize this pattern to build more and more and more companies. And then if you are like, already like saturated on this market, then look for other customers based on the case studies that you've built, because that's the niche, right? Everyone is talking about the niche, but it's hard to define what this niche is, right? So we've been working with a person who is like a brand expert, and he's always saying that it's great to be an English school, but it's even better to be an English school for kids, right? And it's even better to be English school for kids being 5-year-old, right? Because then you see, oh, I have a 5-year-old kid, so that's definitely the company for me. So that's what it means being a niche. And I believe that we should start with, for example, like being a technical assessment platform for software houses. And then every single software house know, okay, so they are for me. Of course, you are like, making this market smaller. But on the other hand, you are like saying that's the market. If you are feeling that, then you are a great fit for us. And that would be, and that is my suggestion when I talk to SaaS founders and startup founders, that find your niche and like be ensure that you are like the number one in this niche. And what we've been like number 3 in like all niches, right? But it's still not this as good as being the number 1 in one niche and then going niche by niche to other markets, other customer types, patterns, sizes, geography, etc.
So that's probably one of my biggest things is finding your niche, your like narrow focus, and really going deep on it rather than being, wide and thin, right? I do a lot of consulting with folks on that. And the thing that I find is that it's actually tough to get people to get there, that they don't want to do that. They have such a pushback that they're afraid they're going to lose potential customers or it's not going to work. So what got you over the hump, or were you already convinced? Like, because again, most of the people I talk to, and I tend to have to fight with, to say we've got to narrow down. We have to narrow down.
Yeah. So the problem here is when you should like say that, okay, I've narrowed down enough, right? Because like you can say that I want to be a technical assessment platform for software houses. But is it enough, or should I say that I want to be a technical screening platform for Java software houses? Or maybe I should say that I should be a technical assessment platform for Java software houses having from 50 to 100 employees, right? And then maybe in Europe, maybe in like UK. And it's hard to say when you should say enough. Like, do not narrow it down. But I believe that to do that, you need to understand the market and you need to understand your values. So for example, for DevSkiller, right now it's obvious for me that we should focus on Java, because Java was our sweet spot. It was our native technology stack. That was the market when we were new by the industry, because we were speaking at many different like Java technical conferences. These developers were knowing us, etc. And we should say, okay, let's be the number 1 choice for Java companies and then go for other companies. And instead of that, we of course decided, because every single startup knows that the bigger company pays more, right? So the bigger customer, the better. So we started with looking for, this is a giant company, but they need to verify Java, .NET, Android, iOS, front-end, infrastructure. That's not a problem. Let's do that, right? And then you are like doing everything. You are trying to, be present on all paths that are possible, and that means that it's not your niche, right? Niche is something that you should be able to verify if you are going in the right direction very quickly. I remember listening on TechCrunch to the Drift CEO who was saying that like building or finding the product market thing is like walking, like trying to escape or exit the desert when you have no marks, nothing. There is sand everywhere, and you are going in one direction, and you don't know if this desert will end up in 500 meters or even 500 kilometers. So you are turning back. And you don't know if you're like going in the right direction because you see nothing, you see just sand. And the same happens when you're looking for a product market fit. So, okay, I'm growing 10% month over month. Is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. Like looking at the market benchmarks, it's great. But maybe in the place where I am, if I will change the niche, I will be able to grow 200% month over month. I don't know. I need to test that, right? So like it's hard, and these are a lot of assumptions and decisions. I believe that you need to have a luck to be honest to grow quickly, because it's impossible to like predict everything and like know like for sure based on the facts and data driven stuff, etc. Because there is no data. So how can you like be driven by data when there is no data, right?
Well, and I think I agree with you that. About all that. And I love the analogy. I think what I tend to find with founders, the difference between those that are really successful and those that aren't, that stubbornness of, being willing to like find a path and go down it versus like staying with what they know and just not being able to adapt like we talked about.
Yeah, also, I believe that it's never too late to find your niche. So if you are like, as you said, you are everywhere, but you are thin, then you can find a niche and start going into this niche like more deeply. So even right now, when at DevSkiller, we are of course like a different stage that we've been like a few years ago. It's never too late to say, okay, so right now my goal is to become a #1 Java assessment tool, right? Why not? Like I can be a leader in every other area, but that's my focus. That's where I want to be. And that's, for example, I want to build my account-based marketing based on Java, because that's what I believe, what I see, and that's where I'm going to invest. So it's never too late to find that. So it's not that the niche can be only at the very beginning. Of course, you cannot do only the niche when you are already a big company. But not doing only a niche doesn't mean that you are not allowed to focus on the niche and spend 30% of your efforts on growing around this niche right now. So that's what is also important, because often people say, yeah, it's too late for us. Never too late, right? You cannot drop all other customers because the churn will kill you. But still, you can start growing in the niche, and that's better than grow as you said, everywhere be pretty thin.
I always talk about too the difference between product niche and marketing niche, where that from your perspective, if you have a product that handles 20 different languages, you're not narrowed down, but you may on a marketing side only go after one. Right? Versus, are you developing a product where it's just Java per se? And are you defining it at the product level or at the marketing level? And I think that's the other option for people that are concerned about it, is that, you can do it with marketing and then have the product follow. Or I do sometimes think if you do with the product first, it's much stronger when you put it out to the market.
Yeah, you are right. So the product niche is very, very important at the beginning, when you need to think about you need to invest the money into building the product, of course, and building the platform that is assessing just Java is of course much cheaper than building the platform that assesses 20 different languages. But also the marketing, it's also an investment, right? You have some money to spend, and the question that many founders ask, if it's better to find or invest this money into 20 different regions and find which one is performing better, or into one that you believe is working better. And that's hard to say. If you will invest all money in one sector and this sector will explode, and great, you are on a good path to become a unicorn. But that was a luck, and that's what I understand by the luck, because you had 10% of chances to find this right segment, and 90% of finding one that is not going as good. And also what I mentioned previously, when you invest into one segment all of the money and you are growing 7% month over month, you have no idea if that's the best segment, because that's how it looks according to benchmarks. Right. Or maybe the segment in another country will allow you to grow 10 times faster, right? So you don't know, you need to test that. And that's there are a lot of trade-offs that you need to do, and a lot of assumptions, and a lot of decisions that we are taking are decisions that we are very, very short on answers. So we are long on questions, short on answers, and still we need to make a decisions.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I've said it for years, is that I think there is that mix of, you have good skills, good decision, but luck, man, is such an impact in growing a business.
Yeah, but it's it's hard to say when you're running a company that is valued $100 million, that I was lucky. Yeah. So then no one will treat you seriously. So everyone knows that luck is a factor, but no one wants to say loud, right? When
but they do say luck is a mixture of opportunity and open-mindedness, where you're open to things, and then you're putting yourself in different situations, and that's where you become,
and the right timing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think there's a science to luck, as crazy as that sounds, right?
Yeah, pretty sure. So I know that there was some idea when you're learning how to fly an airplane, right? And everyone is saying that you are starting with a bag that is full of luck, and other bag that is a bag for experience but is empty. Mm-hmm. And the whole idea is to fill this experience bag before this luck bag will be emptied, right? So I believe that it's similar with with running a business. So you have two boxes, right? One with experience, the second one with luck. And of course, you need to gain experience, but to gain experience and not go run out of money or something like this, you need to be lucky, right? So the question is if you will be able to fill this experience box between this luck box will get empty.
So I'm curious, I know it's never one thing, but I'm always interested in asking founders, was there a key catalyst, decision, a hire, a customer that made a big impact for your trajectory? And what I'm trying to get to is, for other founders out there that are sitting there with startups, what are those things that, could be that thing that's a big turning point in growth?
Yeah, so I believe the biggest impact is when you have on board people who are experts in the area. So you have experts in marketing, experts in sales, and you let them do their job, right? If you let them do the job and the company is growing, then you know that it was a right decision. Of course, the problem is when you let them do their job and the company is not growing. So you know that these are wrong people, right? And I believe that just piggybacking on that, hiring right people is the most important stuff. So you should be able to find right people for your startup. And if you are a startup founder, I would say it's 99% of probability that you are not able to do that. Mm-hmm. So you can always use some external resources to help you in this hiring process. Because having a good hiring process that ensures that the people who are entering your company as the leaders of areas like leader of sales, leaders of marketing, leader of technology, These should be people that share your values, that have the same culture, that you like to work with, that will follow your principles or paradigms of running the company. And be sure that you use every single resource, every single friend, every single consultant that you trust and you have to help you make good decisions, because wrong decisions around sales can waste you a year of growing. So I believe that would be the single advice that is really a game changing. Right now, we see that we have the right people in the company at the right places, and we see that everything is going automatically. I don't need to think about that because it's already done. I can think about something. I ask people about what do you think about that, and they say, yeah, we started doing it 2 weeks ago or something.
Yeah.
So that's where you know that you are in the right hands, right?
Yeah, that's amazing. Have you purposely tried to sculpt the culture of the company, or has it just kind of built organically?
Both, I would say, because the first thing is that there is a sentence, and I really believe in this sentence, that the culture is eating the strategy. So if you don't have a proper culture, you can have the best strategy that you want, but you won't be able to implement that. So basically, we knew that at DevSkiller we need to have a defined culture, just to have kind of an anchor that we can say, hey, these are our values, this is our culture. But it wasn't introduced top down. Basically, when we decided that we need to write down the culture, write down the values, we ask our employees for the examples of behaviors that they like or they dislike, right? And based on that, after filling the examples, so for example, if you say to someone, hey, this sucks, they say, we dislike that because it's not helping us to do better next time. So you should say, it sucks because of this and this and this. I believe it should be this and this and this. So that's what we did. And based on that, after having 60 or 100 different examples of behaviors that are to do and not to do behaviors, we just find out on that the values. And the example of the values can be, for example, a respectful challenge. So you should challenge people, you should force them to do better, but you should be respectful in that, right? We are doing a lot around the dialogue, because everyone is saying that, yeah, that's the dialogue, but maybe that's the fight, maybe that's the conflict, not the dialogue, because the dialogue is when you listen to each other and not try to convince the other people to your ideas, because that's not the dialogue, right? That's enforcement. So yeah, we've spent a lot of time on that, and probably a few 4-hour meetings on the company level to define this stuff, to define the values, describe them, provide examples, and use that and implement that in the company, and that's helping a lot. Especially that if you want to be able to implement your roadmap and implement the strategy, go-to-market strategy, etc., you need to have the people that are easy to collaborate. It doesn't mean that everyone needs to be equal, because diversity helps, right? If you have different ideas, different approaches, but these people need to be aligned around the values and the culture. So yeah, fully agree that the culture is important.
My only issue with the culture eats strategy for breakfast, because I've heard it a million times, is for some people, they start saying, well, strategy doesn't matter. And I think back to your desert analogy, if you have amazing people in the desert, but they don't know what direction to go, they're still going to die. But
exactly,
amazing people and they know the right direction to go, you're going to get there a lot faster. And so,
yeah. Regarding the strategy, there is one great and awesome video I can recommend. It's the person is called Simon Wardley, and he introduced something that is called the Wardley mapping. And there is his video at Google Next. The recording is in YouTube, and it's about crossing the river by filling the stones or something like this. And it's great about how the strategy can look like. The strategy is not that, yeah, we want to be a leader around the customer success, because that's not the strategy. that's kind of a vision maybe, but definitely not the strategy. And he's like showing how to define a strategy based on the value chain. So you have a value chain and the values that you are providing to the customers, and he's like cross-cutting the value chain with the like maturity of the particular elements of this value chain. If it's like a commodity or it's like a custom build or something like this, and based on that he's describing that. So we've been working with Simon and his like company, and they help us a lot in defining the strategy. It's still hard to use it on a daily basis, but it's pretty good to define what you are doing right now and in which areas you are waiting for some important elements of the value chains to like be shifted right from like an experiment or custom build to a product, because the more commoditized the element of value chain is, the more reliable it is, right? So there are some elements that are like unreliable, and if you want to like use unreliable elements in your reliable business, it's not going to happen like to end up in a good way. So I really suggest the Simon Wardley recording, because that was a game changer for me in terms of what the strategy of a company means and how the strategy be implemented, how it can be like shown and how it can be measured, because that's the way when you can measure the strategy and follow the strategy. So definitely must have watching for all founders.
Awesome. So my final question, and I ask this of every founder, if you could go back in time before you started the business and have coffee with yourself, what advice would you give?
So definitely find a niche and build the product around this niche. Don't try to be everywhere because it's impossible. So I believe that was the biggest mistake we've made at DevSkiller, and I would do it definitely in a different way right now. So that's the first thing. The second thing is what you said, like done is better than perfect. We were waiting too long with launching the product because this product was not good enough. But it was only our opinion, and right now when we recently launched the next product, our new product, it's launched in a totally different way. We are saying to the customers, it's an early product. It's at the early stage. It's not filling all of the issues, but that's how this product will look in 2 years. So you're entering it in the state that is today or not. And they're saying, yeah, let's do that. And I was like, why? Like, it don't need to be perfect. Like, it's sellable. So these are the two most important things, I believe. So find your niche, and the product doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be sellable and needs to work.
That's awesome. Well, Jakub, I mean, I think it was an amazing conversation. I really appreciate your time. Is there anywhere that you want to direct folks to learn more about you and the company?
So you can always go to our website, devskiller.com, take a look at that. We have some of the nice recordings of webinars at YouTube, and I believe personally that the video recordings on YouTube are pretty good. I even when I was preparing to our discussion today, I went through your recordings on YouTube just to find out how the structure looks like. So yeah, there is a lot of materials on YouTube right now. I believe that if you want to become a submarine captain, there are some tutorials on YouTube how to deal with the submarines or something like this, right?
That's great. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a great talk.
Yeah, I agree. All right, everybody. Well, that was our show for today. Look forward to seeing you next week. And thank you and have a good day.
Bye-bye.
See ya.